Hey everyone, I'm Lisa and I am the face, the voice and the hands behind 11T1 Windmills, and today I'm really excited because it is our fourth and final week of the Windmill spin along. This has been a really exciting journey through spinning so far, and I've been so happy to share with you some of the techniques that I've learned and get you started on your own spinning journey. So whatever way you came to this and however you're going right now, it's totally fine. If you've mastered everything that I've taught you and more, then that's amazing. And if you're still at park and draft for your spinning on your spindle, then that's amazing too. And I'm really excited that you're just giving it a go and having a good time. At least I hope you're still having a good time. Fingers crossed. We started in week one by learning about some basics to do with fibre and working with our drop spindle to start to spin singles using our park and draft method. In week two, we started working out how to spin our spindle freely so that we can just use our hands for drafting. Last week, we talked all about plying, and we plied a couple of yarns together so that we can use our plied yarn to start making stuff. If you're coming across this video for the first time and you have no idea what sort of thing I'm talking about here, this is the last in a series of beginner spindling tutorials. So if you're wanting to join in for the spin along, we're right at the tail end, so you'll probably have some quick catching up that you need to do. But you can find all the videos on my YouTube channel, parts 1, 2 and 3, and this is part 4. If you've been following along with the spin along, which is happening now, it's October in 2021. I'm so excited that you've come back for the last week, and I'm really excited to see what things that you are sharing and what you're going to make with your beautiful hand spun yarn. So this week is all about what to do with the hand spun yarn that you made. Probably your yarn is looking a little bit lumpy and bumpy, a bit like this one that I spun up last week. And if you've plied some yarn, you might have gotten it together in a ball. This is the ball that I made off the plied yarn that I did in last week's episode. So if you missed that episode, you can absolutely go and check it out on my channel. And today I want to give you some ideas for what you can do if you only have a little bit of yarn and it's maybe not even enough to make like a hat or a scarf or anything like that. I wanted to remind you about my first ever hand spun yarn that I made. So that's what this is here. I made this yarn on the drop spindle. It was the first thing I ever made using fibres, and as I said in the previous videos, it was absolutely the wrong fibre to use. I used something that was from Deep Stash from a craft fair. The dye leached out onto my hands while I was spinning it because I don't think it was exhausted properly, and I just went, oh look, fibre, I'm going to spin this. But I've kept it because I wanted to see an example of my first ever hand spun yarn, and one of the things that I keep this for is for fixing my grandmother's crocheted blanket, which I have here on my couch. I talked about that in one of the previous videos, and I think that that's something that I'll just continue to do with the blanket just so that it can stay in reasonable condition and be looked after here beautifully in my room and keep me company. And also I think it's just a good record if you're planning to keep spinning. It's just nice to have some of your earliest work so that you can show yourself how far you've come in the time that you've been spinning. I hope you don't have this, but this happens to me. I think how I'm going with my spinning, and I get annoyed with myself because I feel like I just haven't come very far, like that. I could have learned so much more, I could have done so much more, and that for some reason my practice just isn't going well, you know? But then if I have my early samples to look at and then I compare them to my more recent spinning, I can say, actually, no, you know what? I am getting more control and I am becoming more consistent. I'm learning more advanced techniques. I'm recognizing more what some of the problems are. And then I can remind myself that actually, yes, I have come a long way, and it is confidence boosting. So that's one thing that you can hang on to your hand spun yarn for a bit of a record and a bit of posterity and a bit of grandma blanket mending. But if that's not your thing and you really want to be making something out of it, there are options for little things that you can make that are quite simple and quite straightforward. If you have something where it's just a little quantity like this, there's a couple of options that I'll suggest for you. One is that you could make a cute little headband, and you just knit it you could even just knit it in garter stitch, so it could be quite simple. Or if you do crochet, just a single crochet all the way around, just enough rows until you get it to go around your head, and that's a cute little idea, and that's something that you can use your hand spun for. You can make it into little embellishments for things. So I've seen really cute, like you can crochet little flowers and then put them on hair clips. So I've done hair clips for friends out of commercial yarns, and you can get the hair clips with the little glue on pads, and you just literally make the flower and glue it on, and you can stick it in your hair or give it as a present. And if that's not your thing, another cool idea that you can do is make a little cup cozy. So you can have it like just a knitted or crocheted thing that goes around your cup cozy. Like this one that I have here. It's probably not enough to make something by itself, but I can coordinate it with something that's a little bit complementary, and I could actually probably get something going, which is kind of an interesting design. So I might have a go of doing this, and I've got some giant chunky 10mm needles here. So that's the effect that I'm getting with the rows of handspun and the rows of mohair, and I am just loving it. I really love this effect, and you can imagine it going around my neck and being scrunched up like this and having like all that beautiful mohair. So I'm really excited about this actually. I think I'm going to do some work on this later. The first ever thing that I knitted from my hand spun ended up being a scarf. After I made the scarf, my daughter laid claim to it, and then I said she could pick some pom-poms to put on the end of it. Just warning you, they are hysterical. This is the scarf. The yarn itself is quite lovely. It's beautiful and soft. I had like a green yarn, and it was plied through a yarn that kind of variegated between this pink, this purple, and this dark green. So one of the plies had green in it already. You know me, I'm the green queen. So the whole thing was just a tube that I knit really long. And I did it that way so that there was no back, and so that it was all stockinette stitch on the outside. And that as soon as I finished the yarn, that was the end of the scarf. So this is the scarf. It has these hysterical little fluffy pom-poms on it, which my daughter just absolutely loves. But yeah, that is my first hand spun item that I made. And I'm really proud of it, and my daughter loves it, and I'm happy that she claimed it. So maybe I'll make a hand spun for me. Although now I have another daughter, maybe she's going to claim that one too. And I'm back. It's been a few days for me, but probably just like 2 or 3 seconds for you since the last section of the video. Look, outfit change. I have been playing with my little hand spun mohair project that I started showing you in the last section, and I just wanted to add in a few additional rows just to see if I could try out a few different things just to show you, and I'm really loving how it looks. So have a closer look. I have been interspersing my hand spun with this Dusty Rose mohair. I showed you that just before, and it's just looking very, very cool. In this section, I've been holding the two yarns together, the mohair and the handspun. These sections down the bottom, it's just the handspun by itself. And one of the things I really like is in this section here, that's just one single row of the handspun and mohair held together. And I just love these textures that the loops are starting to show in the middle of the knitting. So this is a really neat idea, is if you just don't have that much handspun, like I didn't start with very much. I think I might have had, I don't know, 50 grams of handspun, and it's all thick and thin, so it's not even a consistent gauge. So what was I going to do with this? It was probably not enough even for a hat. My daughter, my little one, saw this while I was working on it and immediately said, "Oh mummy, is that a blanket for my bunny?" So no, it's too pretty for that. I think I'm going to continue it on, and whatever length I get to, I reckon I can make like a nice little, like a little necky sort of thing. So I can definitely make something still functional that I can wear that doesn't have to be a bunny blanket out of such a small amount of yardage of handspun. So don't feel like if you've made a tiny little piece that you can't actually use it for anything. And especially if it's your first one and you want to use it for something and it's a little bit lumpy and bumpy, what we call organic and rustic. Those are better descriptive words. You can still absolutely make something lovely out of a small piece of handspun. And that was what the whole idea of this little sample was. And I'm definitely going to finish this because the colors are just magical and I love the little sparkles that are coming through it. And I was really happy that I stole this art bat from my shop, and I'm making it into something lovely for me. And I still have heaps of the art bat left, which I didn't spin, and I am really excited to finish spinning that somehow. If you're not a knitter or a crocheter, but if you're a weaver or if you think you'd like to try weaving, there's a whole array of beautiful wall hanging style weaving things that people use handspun yarn for, and it just looks stunning. So a while back I did a weaving course for like textural art weaving, and this is the thing that I made. It's its first debut, so be kind. I haven't steamed it or anything like that. It's just made from a selection of yarns that they had available in the course, but I can absolutely see something like this being worked up with some hand spun yarn and it looking really, really, really special. You can see big puffy elements that was just roving. These grey bits was just commercial yarn, so don't be scared of combining commercially milled yarn and hand spun. It's a great way to stretch out your hand spun and make your hand spun a feature, especially if you don't have that much of it. And there's some elements in here, like where's that pinky purple one? I really love this. This one here has a very, very hand spun quality about it. And let me just get that little tassel-y thing out of the way. I kind of went crazy with the tassels. But having these little pockets of that kind of yarn and featuring your hand spun in the fringe can be a great way to use your hand spun and showcase it in something. And this is only teeny tiny, right? Yeah, so I mean, I did this at a workshop. They provided a basic style of weaving loom, but I had this thought, you know, because not everybody wants to go and invest on a piece of equipment to make something. They're going to make one thing and then not use the equipment for ages, if ever again. Why can't you just warp around like a book? You know, something sturdy that's not going to bend and flop, or even the lid of a shoebox because it's got the spaces underneath. And if you're careful and you can just measure how, like, you know, that your warp threads are kind of roughly equal, it kind of doesn't matter if you're doing something that's fairly organic looking, then you can actually have a go of trying some weaving techniques that you don't have to invest a whole lot of money for, because I'm really conscious. I know that when you're a beginner, you can sometimes get really overwhelmed with, oh, you should buy this, you should buy that, you should buy this equipment, you need that equipment. And then suddenly, you know, it's like the dollar signs in your eyes. You're spending thousands of dollars. Don't ask, I know from experience, on equipment that you can actually find like makeshift solutions just with everyday stuff around the house. Obviously, there's some things that you can't substitute, like if you're keen and you want to get a proper spinning wheel, you probably can't substitute that with something made shift at home, although I have seen some really interesting YouTubes where people have done exactly that. But for something like this, I could totally imagine making this on the cover of a book, and then taking it off the book, obviously, and keeping the book for reading, or sitting on the shelf, whatever we do. So that's an idea too. So you can do like a really nice textural wall hanging and feature a few of your hand spun yarns and mix it in together with some commercially milled yarns too. And that way you can stretch your hand spun a little bit, you can make it a feature so that it really stands out and that it looks really, really beautiful, and that you can hang it up on your wall so it doesn't even have to be wearable, because I know sometimes people make things, they don't necessarily want to wear it, or it could be a good thing for gifts for people. You know, I think I would probably not gift this because it's a little bit shabby, but I love it and I would be very proud of myself to have it hanging on my wall. So I think I am going to hang this up somewhere. I just need to figure out the best spot. And don't forget, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, you don't have to be producing perfection yarns to be able to do something beautiful with them. I mean, this yarn that I made for this project, this is hysterical. Like, there's no way I could call this perfectly spun yarn. It's lumpy and bumpy. It's organic and rustic. It's highly textural. It's highly textural, and but it's beautiful, right? Like, it's so nice, and it's creating such a lovely effect in this project that I'm doing, and I'm really excited about this. So I hope you're finding some really fun and interesting ways of using up your little bits of hand spun yarn. If you do come up with some cool ideas, tag me on Instagram so that I know, because I want to see what you're making. All right, everybody, I am going to leave it there for week 4. I hope that's been really interesting for you to see, getting your yarns and turning them into something cool. I hope you've got some really, really good ideas for how to use your hand spun yarn. And like I said, I would love to see them. So if you're making your hand spun into something, feel free to tag me, because I'm here for all of it. But it's been such a great time. I've loved doing this spin along. If you joined me for the spin along, thank you so much. I can't even tell you how much fun it's been and how great it's been to get to know all of you in that sort of a context. And if you're finding these videos later and you totally missed the spin along, I'm really, really sorry, but you know, you're welcome to reach out anyway. If you're spinning and have any questions, you can just pop them in the comments below. All right, I hope you're all going to have fun doing your spinning. Okay, I'm gonna say goodbye and see you all later. Okay, bye.